We all know Ronald McDonald, the primary mascot for the popular fast food chain McDonald's. Ronald and his adventures with friends all over in McDonaldland have entertained children across the world for decades. Sadly, in recent years, Ronald and the gang have kind of been phased out by McDonald's in favor of the new mascot, Happy the Happy Meal box. Happy is absolutely terrifying and makes me want to stutter and crap out eggshells just thinking about the dreaded box. A lot of people, including Eddie Scarpa, had been curious as to where and why the legendary fast food and his friend clown and his friends have gone. Many people claim that Ronald McDonald and his friends have gone to the great McDonald's in the sky. However, Eddie felt very differently and sought of help of Edgar Balasard, the ex-lover of the smelly clown, in order to find out what truly happened using the inside source. Edgar pulled Eddie close to his face and asked in a quiet whisper, "Can you keep a secret?" "Oh, of course you can." Edgar then began scrap of the story and the truth about Ronald McDonald, why McDonald's has been so keen on getting rid of their icon. Ronald McDonald off the camera was not the lovable clown that we all knew and loved. Far from the fact that, according to Edgar, Ronald was quite the a-hole. Well, as he would often shout out and moan when the kids' commercials were starring him, he would goof off and forget the lines. He got so angry at times that a replacement played by Charlie Sheen could have been stepped in to replace Ronald. This was, of course, until Sheen demanded dinner from with his homie Turban B. Birdie. Every hour on the tour of the hour at McDonald's didn't have the resources to waste this, so they fired him. Off the set, Ronald was also horrible with his co-star Grimace. Thanks to his sarcastic nature, Ronald became the mayor of McDonaldland after drowning Mayor McCheese in the river of ketchup. Ronald was a tyrant and had starved for his people. He had also had protesters made into hamburgers by Luca Barsi and had Grimace as his personal enforcer. No one dared to visit the land as long as Ronald was in control, and the powerless business leaders such as Norm of the North, they were all avoiding it. Norm was busy anyway, dancing with his undercover lover Father. With Grimace providing his muscle, Ronald was an unstoppable force and demanding the royalties from every McDonald's across the world. Lost heaven at the branch of the company, they tried to turn him down, and Ronald responded by burning down the store, killing everyone who worked there, even Grandpa Joe. A few of Ronald's friends had tried to talk some sense into the dreaded fast food clown, but none of them seemed to be successful. Grimace, meanwhile, had completely fallen under Ronald's ways and had become sorely loyal to the clown and had developed an addiction to Big Macs, and Ronald would simply supply him with free burgers as long as he did his bidding. Captain Crook, meanwhile, became more involved in Ronald, acting up his accountant. He also craved cheeseburgers, but Ronald hated Crook and thus refused to give him away. "Ahoy, how about a cheeseburger for me, hearty?" Captain Crook would ask, only to get a slap across the face from Ronald's yellow-gloved hand. Meanwhile, Sunday became fat and lazy as Ronald fed him like a king. He still loved his dear dog, and it was one of the good things in people that in McDonaldland could ever say about old Ronald. Meanwhile, Officer Big Mac became Ronald's cop on payroll, and had also helped Ronald with the murder of Mayor McCheese. People like Hamburglar and Birdie the Early Bird were treated worse than Ronald. Birdie was especially, as Ronald's planned on to turn her into chicken nuggets by fattening her up until the time was right. Hamburglar, meanwhile, was put to work by one of Ronald's factories and was forced to work extra hard as Ronald despised him more than anyone else. Hamburger can't even blame Ronald as they tried to steal his cheeseburgers in the past, but Ronald's actions seemed to be a little out of hand of order to him. Also, Mac tonight was the only one wise left yet to leave McDonaldland behind. He moved to the Empire Bay and became the world-famous talk show host. Hamburglar and the McNugget buddies, as well as the Fry Kids and Professor, were planning on a revolution that would end with Ronald's death, as the Hamburglar placing him as mayor. Hamburglar hoped that Ronald dead, and as him, the mayor would bring back peace to McDonaldland. "I will set you free," Hamburglar sang to Bertie, but sadly it was too late for her, as one day later after the Hamburglar sang this to her, Ronald and Grimace had paid their visit with Grimace holding a meat cleaver. Bertie's death was slow and incredibly painful. After she was killed, Ronald and Grimace made Bertie into a chicken nuggets and they served it into a local McDonald's stores. She had enough of the chicken to her last. Ronald at least had a month or so. He even had some leftovers to give to Sunday for dinner. Ronald and Grimace also expressed an interest in taking control of the nearby Burger King land, and ran by the Burger King himself. The king was far too powerful and had so many connections. Thus Polsneeks, the king of Poker King and the Midwest, making him practically untouchable. This kept Ronald and Grimace away, for at least for now anyway. The night after Bertie was killed, Hamburglar arranged a meeting with the professor, McNugget buddies, and the Fry kids in the back of the fat room of the factory they worked at. Burglar's plan was simple. The group would recruit as much people as they can, and they try to avoid to do their clade against the crusade against Ronald McDonald. They would also form together and perform the assault on Ronald Mayer for killing Ronald in the process on McDonald. The next few days went by, and Hamburglar's cohorts went around asking people to join their residence. Many people came in, including Waste Basket, Storm of the North, Edgar Basse, Miss Duper, the Burger King, Captain Crunch, Gus Ponsesk, and even Celia, the CEO of Monsters Incorporated. Ronald was not dumb, however, and he knew how to mansion secure like a fortress, with waves upon waves of bodyguards and corrupt cops hired to protect it. Officer Big Mac manned the front gate just like if he was his own child. Grimace, meanwhile, accomplished Ronald everywhere as his bodyguard, and no one could get to see Ronald without going through Grimace first. 3 weeks after the recruitments, Hamburglar felt as if his residents had waited long enough, and now this was perfect. The time to strike and take on Ronald McDonald. The residents sat on the nearby hill, aimed to which was perfect time for his sake to take on Ronald McDonald. The residents sat by a nearby hill, armed to the teeth, and the Hamburglar standing out in front of the head to his assault. "We have to move fast," Hamburglar said, before continuing with, "Ronald built himself an army." The McNuggets began shaking violently, which of course Sully asked, "Why are you so scared, fellas?" "Because we're chicken!" The McNugget buddies cried as the Hamburglar yelled, "Now!" The Hamburglar chowed towards the McDonald Manor with his cohorts chowing behind him. They began to make their way up to the front gate, where, one big surprise, Officer Big Mac was waiting for them with a sinister glare on his eyes. "You better turn back right now if you know what's good for you," Officer Big Mac ordered. "Poker twist, Gus Poleski," he said, as he grabbed Officer Big Mac with an immense strength and proceeded to lift him up in the air. Poleski then again proceeded to twist Officer Big Mac in unmentionable ways. He twisted him to the point of no return, essentially completely mutilated the officer. Officer Big Mac died from twisting, as the Hamburglar said. "Next, we take on Captain Crook." The next moment, the professor pulled out a large machine gun from his butt and handed it over to the Hamburglar. "You're going to need this, son," the professor warned as the gate opened up slowly and surely. Outside in the front, the garden stood there was the waves of Ronald's guards, already armed their teeth with incredible weapons. "Hello and goodbye, Patrick Starr." "Hello, goodbye," Patrick Starr said, as he pushed the Hamburglar out of the way and began shooting the machine gun himself. He slaughtered the mercenaries of Ronald's men, following the residents to advance inside the mansion itself. The professor, Sully, and Norm were sent after Captain Crook, who was hiding behind Ronald's basement like some sort of Charmex. Upon entering the basement, Captain Crook said and looked before asking, "Oh, really?" Norm then proceeded to bust in a groovy dance, which of course Captain Crook responded with shooting him with a shotgun. Norm died instantly from the blast, while the professor responded by shooting Captain Crook with a ray gun, killing him instantly as the avenging of Norm's death was in process. Captain Crook was dead. Hamburglar's main problem was Grimace, who was far too strong, and even Sully to take on to the fight. It was the Burger King himself who had an idea this time. He led the group to Grimace in the lounge, which of course it was an entirely big lounge specified for Grimace and his homies to chill out and eat cheeseburgers. To their hearts' content, they found Grimace Grimace chilling on a large, big purple sofa reading a magazine. He looked up and said evilly, "Some people are going to die tonight." Grimace began to charge towards the group with immense speed, but of course it was stopped short when the Burger King held up his hand as if he was telling Grimace to shut up. Grimace stopped in his tracks just as he was curious and was confused as the King's friends were. He reached inside his pocket and removed a large cheeseburger. Grimace began licking his lips and grabbed the cheeseburger out of the King's hands and eaten it all in one bite. Suddenly, a loud stomach rumble can be heard as Grimace's belly began shaking uncontrollably. "Oh dear," Grimace said as he exploded to a million pieces. "No one from McDonald's can handle my burger's steamy taste," the King said as he spoke for the very first time. So he sounded like Matt Berry for some bizarre reason. Hamburglar then went into alone to confront Ronald in the penthouse suite, as the rest of the residents had to deal with the whole reinforcements as Ronald was sent to protect them. Ronald was too busy playing Shrek 2 on the Xbox, but knew exactly what was happening. "You killed Grimace, didn't you?" "Hamburglar, you're no better than me. You kill me and then you'll be worse than the leader I was," Ronald said as he proceeded to shut off the Xbox. Hamburglar pointed his gun at Ronald's face and said, "You killed Bertie, Ronald. You enslaved the entire McDonaldland into doing your dirty work." Ronald laughed before saying, "I did what was best, Hamburglar. It was just a business otherwise, you know what I'm saying? Besides, you never cared about yourself, and you don't pretend otherwise. Don't think I cannot see you through, you little piece of crap." Ronald then pointed out a large shotgun and then began shooting at the Hamburglar. The Hamburglar tried to shoot Ronald, but it had no effect as he was wearing body armor and lots on too. "Now you die," Ronald McDonald said, when all of a sudden 2 familiar voices started singing behind Ronald. "That's right, we are, and we'd like to ask you a favor." Ronald turned around to see the wastebaskets heading towards him. "Oh, crap," Ronald said as the Hamburglar punched Ronald in the face, causing him to fall to the floor. He couldn't get up to fight the Hamburglar as the wastebaskets began consuming their next meal. "Hamburglar, if you have a problem with me, let's just sort it ourselves, okay? We don't want to have to bring the wastebaskets into this," Ronald pleaded as the unmoved Hamburglar responded with, "Sorry, Ronald. It was nothing personal of business." "Oh, God, I'm sorry. Please, please, please. No, no." Ronald's feeble last attempts were pleading with the Hamburglar cut short when he was fully consumed by the wastebaskets. The wastebaskets continued singing, "Don't forget to feed the wastebaskets at McDonald's, at McDonald's, at McDonald's." Leaving the manor, Hamburglar has returned outside to see the residents had successfully killed all of Ronald's reinforcements. Hamburglar made a speech and said, "And from this day forward, no more lives will be lost in McDonaldland. Of Ronald McDonald's sign of terror is finally over." Everyone all cheered, and the miserable Mr. Parks squeezed an apple of admiration for the Hamburglar. Hamburglar took over this as mayor and control. McDonaldland became a happy place once again, and he developed better relationships with the king of Burger King Land as well as KFC and Wendy's Land. He closed down all the factories and his cut ties with the McDonald's company for good, giving him back his royalties that they were given to Ronald in the process. Hamburglar was a better leader than Ronald was. Professor then came in with the famous scientists. The McNugget buddies became actors, and the Fry Kids opened up their own hair salon. It was all going well, but McDonald's themselves was facing their own problems. With their mascot dead, the McDonald's crew had essentially been cutting ties with their company. McDonald's needed a new mascot, so they thought of Richard Flatched, but he ate all the hamburgers, making him unsuitable for the job. Then they tried the Tin Man, but he was a husband, and the Scarecrow had gone vegan and refused to do partnership with McDonald's unless the company paid over $9,000 to a local vegan house owned by Gaston. Yes, Gaston, not even joking on that one. Finally, McDonald's settled up on the Happy Hamburger box. That was one of the people's things to survive on the Hamburger's assault on the McDonald Manor. He became the company's new mascot, replacing Ronald and his friends, and he became far more famous and was loved than that evil clown could ever hope to have alone. Also, Edgar had told Eddie about the Scarpetta published in the events book that was now being sold as best-selling novel ever based on the fast food. Also, a documentary film was released by each residence member, giving everybody the version of the story. and recognized the surroundings of their lives during Ronald McDonald's Tennessee region as mayor. Sadly, the documentary has long been since lost in its deep caves of Arizona. To this day, Ronald McDonald is still being seen as McDonald's true mascot, even by yours actually. He particularly built at the company's success himself. It wasn't too bad and too ironic to the character could make such a fatal mistake later in life. At least we can all rest a little easier now, knowing that the McDonald's is safe once again. Oh, Matthew Bumford, you have definitely made me laugh this time. I managed to hold my laugh in and not stifle so much as I usually try to do with these funny pastas. This is actually a pretty good Fury pasta, if you ask me. This is actually one of the best ones I've read that was by you so far. I know there was other ones, but I think this one is a pretty good one as well. And that, my little pretties, was the Battle of McDonaldland. A McDonald's funny pasta written by Matthew Bumford. Matthew Bumford, I want to thank you so much for the story. What are my final thoughts on this story? I'm going to be completely honest that this story was actually really good. Like, there's a lot coming to that, and I can definitely say that there was a lot of great things I have to say about it. Now, I could definitely say that I miss, the old McDonald's. The old McDonald's had really good memories. And I used to like the old McDonald's ever since I was a kid. And to be completely honest, I honestly loved the old McDonald's as a kid. I actually remembered, back when McDonald's was good, It's still sort of good today, but I just miss the old times, the best times we had with McDonald's. Like, I remember going to McDonald's as a kid, and I do remember Ronald McDonald being a mascot. But however, though, I do remember he has changed, so, this is meant to be a funny pasta, so this is actually not supposed to be taken seriously. So I could definitely understand about this. Now, the Ronald McDonald's, mascot that was, Ronald for at least a long time, which most of us kids have knew Ronald McDonald. However, though, I think the Happy Meal box is probably the newest one or something. But we could definitely say I do remember, the older characters like Ronald McDonald, Grimace, Hamburglar, Bertie the Bird, the Fry Kids, and the McNugget Buddies. And Mayor McCheese, I don't remember him, but I do remember, having all that. However, here's the thing when I'm going to be honest, is that although Ronald McDonald's still seen in some commercials and Happy Meals, he's just not really being recognizable now these days. And I'm going to be honest, the old McDonald's was when everything was really good. And that I can definitely say was the best. And I can definitely say that this pasta had a lot of time and effort into it. And I honestly really love this story. This story was actually really good. Now, what did I like about it? Well, I like the concept itself to be rather nice. It's a really good concept. The grammar was really good. The storyline of how the episode went out and everything about it was just flat out amazing. Now, I could definitely say that it was really cool, and I could definitely say there was a lot of time and effort put into it, and that's something I can definitely say. Because now these days, I'm going to be honest that, stories now these days, it's sad that they're not as great as we used to know. But I could definitely say, concept itself was just flat out amazing and funny at the same time with all the characters, banding together and going to, throw Ron McDonald out of the throne. I obviously have to say, all this is quite believable, and it's actually pretty amazing when you come to think about it. Another thing I could definitely say that I really liked about this story was the grammar, which was absolutely amazing and was really good. The sentence structuring, which is amazing. The concept, and the storyline of how the episode went out. That is very important when it comes to writing stories, is that you have to make sure everything about it is good, like the grammar and stuff. Because if people don't, and they just sit there and, act as if nothing is happening, then what the hell are you trying to do, basically? That's basically something I'm just trying to get out there for the future. This story was absolutely awesome, and there was definitely lots of time and effort put into it. And that's something I could definitely say right now, is that there was time and effort into the story, which is really good if you ask me. Now, is there anything negative do I have to say about this pasta? No. I don't have anything negative to say about it. It was just flat out amazing. Now, Matthew Bumford, you make really good stories, so I'm hoping you can make more like this, because all these stories that I've written by you are amazing. I'm giving most of them that I did a rant on the past a second chance. But, this story was actually pretty good, and I can definitely understand, why, the old McDonald's mascot are not being used anymore. But it's kind of sad. Like, if I were to bring back the old McDonald's, I definitely would do it in a heartbeat for most of us. Because most of us as kids have seen it as a young kid, and I could definitely say there was a lot of time and effort put into that, which is definitely something I can definitely understand and say, it's really amazing to come to think of it. Okay, now I'm going to wrap up this review, and yeah, so like I'm always going to say, and like I always continue to say, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, or funny pastas in this case, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be a 10 out of 10. Everything was all awesome, the concept was great, the storyline, the grammar, everything about it was just very good, and the flow of the story just went out beautifully. Like, it's just amazing to see that a lot of creepypastas now these days don't follow that, but this one, it does a lot of good reality, and this is actually believable. Well, except I don't think they would kill Ronald. That's probably just dark, but it's still pretty good. I can definitely say that. Anyways, what did you all think about this funny pasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so you guys will not miss an upload. And like always, please roll the outro, because I'm out of here, and I'll be seeing you all next time. Bye-bye.